Good morning, everyone. My name is George Valdez. I am your host here and also the head of marketing here at Monograph. Next up on the plant section stage, I'm delighted to introduce our career fair spotlight. My fellow monographer, Sylvia Lee, is going to be hosting this session. Sylvia, welcome to the Section Cut stage.
Thank you. My name is Sylvia Lee. I'm the community marketing manager here at Monograph. I'm also an architect, but since transitioning to a marketing role, maybe the term marketect can become a thing. Thanks to Nathan from our team for coming up with that term. I want to welcome you to our career fair spotlight. We're going to spend the next hour and a half getting to know folks from a range of growing organizations and get the inside scoop on what it's like to work at their companies, open roles, and how to make your application stand out from the crowd. All right, let's welcome all of our speakers. We're going to bring them all on stage. Erin Pellegrino, co-founder at Out of Architecture, a career consulting firm that helps creatively driven architects and designers find roles that challenge and fulfill them. Then next, we'll have Aaron Willett, Director of Manufacturing Technology at Intelligent City, a tech startup in the AEC industry that combines design, computation, robotic manufacturing, and mass timber to tackle multi-story housing and commercial buildings. Then we're joined by Leah Alyssa Bayer, President at Architects FORA, an award-winning 100% virtual women-led team of experts who are passionate about increasing quality housing and strengthening our communities. Next, Lynn Chalk, Managing Director of Business Management at Brick, a nimble firm with talented big firm staff committed to creating value through design. Here, principals can stay closer to the work, creating a more collaborative process and better service to their clients. Then Anamika Goyal, Head of Design at Cottage. Cottage is an end-to-end custom ADU company that's reimagining residential design and construction, backed by Sousa Ventures, Base 10 Partners, and premier prop tech angel investors. And then last but not least, Adam Gale, President at Level Architecture and Interiors. Level is a full-service architecture and interior design firm, offering thoughtful, client-focused design services from small commercial renovations and tenant build-outs to large-scale institutional projects. Welcome, everybody. We're so happy you've all joined us here today. We're looking forward to spending some time with you. And now we're going to get started right away with Erin. Thank you all. Talk to you soon. All right. So Erin, maybe a 1-minute super brief intro so we can get to know you and Out of Architecture a little better.
Sure. First of all, thanks so much for having us. This has been a really inspiring few days, and a little bit sad, but really excited for this day's events. So my name is Erin Pellegrino, and alongside Jake Rudin, we founded Out of Architecture about 4 years ago. Actually, we just turned 4 earlier this month. And we're essentially a career consulting firm for all the architects out there that are looking to really take ownership and authorship over designing their career. We're constantly inspired by all of the skills and expertise and all of the wide array that architects and designers can bring to the world. And I think this is a really exciting time to be so skilled in architecture and also all the ways that we could kind of broaden our scope. So yeah, we started this about 4 years ago. I think at this point we've had several hundred clients and have helped people go from, traditional careers in architecture to yacht design to, I love the term marketect. I think that's amazing. So to careers in marketing, careers in tech. We have a couple people working on space rockets. So I think it's just completely amazing all the ways in which architects can have agency in the world. And we get to talk to all these people all the time.
I really like that when I talked to you earlier, when I met you and Jake, that you're still an architect, but Jake has a position that's a little different. So you can do both. Can you kind of highlight how we can use our skills and abundance of skills that we have, how we can use those to leverage our positions in our existing firms? And then maybe how can we start thinking about how we use those skills in a broader industry?
For sure. Yeah. So yeah, Jake and I kind of wear two different hats in the sense that we feel also that the name kind of Out of Architecture isn't just leaving the profession, but rather what can you get out of architecture and what can we kind of bring out of the profession if we start to look more in a more extroverted sense. I think a lot of the skills that we hone both in school and in practice really align well with being an entrepreneur. And I think, Robert's comments at the start of this were really inspiring and I think really hit the nail on the head. We find it so interesting that when it comes to design, architects are fearless, right? We are constantly willing to fail and try and iterate, and we almost sort of chase that notion of this could be more perfect, right? And what we realized is that,
Absolutely.
similar to what, yeah, so similar to what Robert was saying, this idea that, if you're feeling apprehensive, just start. We have that kind of in our core as designers, but when you kind of turn that back to the profession and turn that back to your own career, if you could just flip that switch back on and say, yeah, I'm gonna design my career, I'm gonna design my team in my firm, I'm gonna push everywhere I can push to make this kind of more perfect and more better. I think bringing that and refocusing that effort to realize that the power of design can be so broad. It can be with the team that you have, it could be with the manager that you have or the people that you manage, it could be with starting your own thing. We've been really inspired by a couple of our clients who've, decided to stay in, perhaps more traditional firms, but really try to push for changes, not just structurally within the firm, but also looking at going after different types of projects, whether that be more socially engaged work or trying to bring things like more mentorship back into, ways in which to kind of cultivate younger talent. So I think it's really inspiring to see once you kind of unlock that notion that you could sort of design everything, what people tend to do with it. Because, we say that like, or I teach a professional practice course and I try to tell my students, often the architect is the most interesting person in the room, but if you're surrounded by other architects, sometimes it's hard to kind of snap out of that idea of just focusing on design and really broadening that horizon.
And I really like that you say it that way, that if you're in a room full of architects, I think we can definitely take it onto ourselves to expand what the idea of an architect is. And honestly, people don't even have a fully accurate idea of what an architect is. I know you have a lot of positions available, but they're also, you're not the person hiring them, you're working with the person. So how does someone work with out of architecture and what's the best way to go about this process?
Sure. Yeah, no. So it's a completely one-on-one or really two-on-one process. So my co-founder Jake and I are in every meeting with every client that we have. Typically, if a client comes to us, they're in sort of one of two stages. One, they're just sort of playing with the idea of what would happen if I started to broaden my search or started to think about what I could do next. Or they have, their eye set on either a certain industry or a certain company. Either way, we typically start with a free kind of 20-minute intro. For anyone who's interested in that, Jake is going to be over in our expo booth later and happy to take kind of questions, and I'll be popping in throughout the day. But we start off with that quick 20-minute call, which is really a chance to learn all about that person, not just their, sort of resume, but what are their passions? What is their ideal sort of work-life balance? What do they really want to bring to the work that they do? And what do they get most excited about? And then also maybe what's not working. So we talk through that, and then we, based on how that conversation goes and what their goals are, we set up a sort of program around how to attack wherever they want to go next. So we put together a role tracker. We try to help them network as best as possible. I think this event is really amazing as in terms of a networking opportunity and understanding all of the amazing roles that are out there and all the jobs and companies that are doing such fascinating things. So we try to essentially kind of make connections and put people in touch with one another and really just talk through what that, design your own career process could be. And what we find is that sometimes it's really just great to bounce ideas off of one another. We think about it similar to like a career desk crit, like in school when you were really frustrated with something, if someone could just come by and help you see things a little bit differently or having an inspiring conversation, we found that to be really helpful.
We're about halfway through our time, so we have plenty of time to cover more things. But I just wanted to get this out there first. How should people contact you and Jake? I know you'll be in the booth afterwards, but is it your website or are you very active on another platform?
Yeah, so our website is a great way to directly book an appointment with us. You can head to outofarchitecture.com and then you'll see up at the top where you can schedule. We are both really active on LinkedIn. We kind of are LinkedIn nerds. Jake in particular is a LinkedIn power user. And also just follow us on Instagram. It's where we post a lot of exciting opportunities that we see, as well as content that we feel is useful and engaging. And we always love to have informal chats there as well if anyone's responding or feeling inspired by some of the stuff that we post.
Yeah, I saw you're regularly posting all the different opportunities available on Instagram. And they're really wonderful opportunities. Maybe you can share a little more about some of the clients that you worked with and what opportunities they found or how they pivoted and or found like new found passion even maybe.
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, it's completely unique, and we've had clients from still in school to I think the maximum was 30 years out, and who had founded their own, sort of practice, and that was looking to sort of, take the next step. So we've had clients really from all over the world and at all phases in their career. And one of the first questions we ask or really try to suss out is, how do you want to spend your time? There's a lot of questions, I think, around things like work-life balance, and compensation packages are really important. But I think when it comes down to it, the most important resource that we have is time. So one of the exercises we do with a lot of our clients is, look, if you're feeling stuck or you don't exactly know what you think is going to be the best path for you, take out your sketchbook or whatever, your calendar app, and pick a week, a year in the future, and just design your week. The excuse that Jake and I use all the time is, if you want to be doing hot yoga 3 days a week, like, just put that on there. If you want to be spending more time with your kids, or you want to be in a wood shop working on things, put that stuff on there, and we'll go through that with them and try to decide what may be the next best step. Do you want to be working potentially in tech on a digital product that also has some sort of implication in the physical world? Like, maybe you're working on on a project on the Internet of Things, right? And you're dealing with this space between the digital and the physical, but at a completely different scale and in a completely different way. We've had people, I think, or one of our coolest from last year was going to do sort of custom yacht design. We thought that was really neat. Similar with automotive, there's obviously a lot of buzz, right? Or has been a lot of buzz around EV. We've had people go to places like Apple and Google. Jake obviously is really focused in Adidas, focused at Adidas, and working in apparel and footwear. So we have a lot of people who come to us really interested in how that transition has happened. One of the amazing stories that Jake always tells is that when he had sort of gone back to our undergrad and was talking to one of our professors and said, yeah, I work at Adidas now. Our professor turned around and was like, oh, those are just shoes or houses for feet. So I think, we just try to reframe where people, where their interests lie, and where that may mean they end up next.
I like that you said that plan out your week in the future, because it can be very daunting. Sometimes when I get asked, like, what's my 5-year plan? Like, I don't even know what my 1-year plan is sometimes. Do you have any advice for people that might be feeling stuck, but maybe they're just at that stuck stage, like, this isn't the best place for me. How do they go from there?
Yeah, I mean, part of it, I think, goes back to what Robert was talking about at the intro, which is just like, sometimes you just have to start. I think there is sometimes a lot of insecurity around it. And I think there's a lot of reasons why that happens. One thing that I've always found, or sort of a term I use, is that I feel like a lot of people in architecture are insecure overachievers. Obviously incredibly talented. It takes a lot to be an architect. It takes a lot of stamina. It takes a ton of talent. It takes, sometimes also a thick skin, especially to get through school. But at the end of the day, everyone who makes it through architecture and practices, you're automatically a doer. You're able to synthesize all of these abstract ideas, and you could do that really well kind of within the world and understanding other people's problems and other people's needs. Sometimes it's hard to always go back and reframe that to just yourself, especially if you've been practicing for a really long time, because I think we are a service-based industry, and what that means is that we're constantly thinking about how to solve other people's problems. So sometimes it's harder, I think, to really think about yourself and your wants and your needs, and that's why I really like the sort of the calendar exercise. I also really struggle with the 5-year plan question, just because I feel like that's a little bit more abstract. But at the same time, I also recognize that all of the decisions that you made personally 3 years ago, you're living in now. You're living in the results of those things now. So if you think back and try to look retroactively and say, what did I do 3 years ago that put me to where I am now? Sometimes that's easier to then say, okay, so what am I going to do today that's going to propel me to that point later? So we try to, just ask, I think, important questions, or poignant questions. At the same time, we joke that, sometimes our sessions feel like career therapy. We are not therapists at all. But what we have seen is like really inspiring and amazing people who sometimes just get, tripped up on what happens if I'm not following a traditional architecture path. Does that mean I'm no longer, an architect? For me, the title of architect was really important, and I really wanted my license. And I wanted it because if I want to change the way architects, live in the world and exist in the world, and the agency that we have to do that in some way under that title. And you're right, a lot of architecture, or a lot of people who are not architects, don't exactly know what it is that we do. And I see that as such an opportunity to define what type of architect you want to be, even if that means, you're an architect who designs houses for feet or something like that. So I think we talk about this idea of like the noun crisis. What happens if I'm no longer an architect? I think you're always going to think like an architect and always going to be an architect, even if you end up being a marketect. You're going to bring that sort of expertise and mentality to every problem that you solve. And that to me is super exciting.
I feel like I have a similar path to like out of architecture. I wish I had you as a therapist. Even though you're not a therapist, you sound like you'd be excellent people to talk to about for career advice. I just kind of followed my passions and my interests and ended up at Monograph, and I'm so happy here because I feel like I get to talk to individuals all the time about architecture now. Like everything that I liked and loved about architecture that was inspiring, I get access to here now instead of like deep into the drawings on a deadline in an old firm. So I really appreciate all this inspiring information. I'm very pumped to like design my career, and I hope everyone is as well. That was a very strong theme from many speakers during our conference. You have to design your firm, design your career, design the bold leader you want to be. So do you have any last final words as we close out this session? But I had a great time chatting with you, Erin. But take it
No,
away.
likewise, I really appreciate it. Like I said, this has been a really inspiring 3 days, or 2.5 now, 3 days. I think it's been amazing to see just the growth in entrepreneurship in architecture. I love seeing so many companies using their title so differently and trying to make changes both in the discipline and also expanding it. So that to me is super exciting. I think we've had a lot of really great conversations. Everyone or anyone who wants to continue chatting, please come stop by. We really love meeting new people and talking about all the ways in which that we have agency and exciting impacts in the world. So come say hi. If you miss us today, feel free to head to outofarchitecture.com and book us some time with us. And please follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to kind of cross paths and share some content.
Thank you, Erin. I'm so glad we connected for this. I hope everyone should check out your booth later and jump in there and have a great chat.
Thanks so much.
All right, next up, Aaron Willett, Director of Manufacturing Technology at Intelligent City. Welcome to the stage, Aaron.
Thanks, Sylvia. Thank you so much for inviting us to be here. It's really an honor for Intelligent City to participate in this.
I'm glad to have you here. Oliver was very, very excited. He was like, I have so many positions. I believe you just got funding. Tell me more about your company.
Yeah, so the way I love to explain Intelligent City is if you asked a bunch of architects to get together and redesign urban housing, we're kind of the result of that. We've taken everything that we've learned from academia, practice, kind of all of our different avenues of interest, and kind of combine them into one company. So, we're taking a product-based approach to, making more sustainable urban-focused housing. And as you mentioned, we have a number of open spots. We do have some really great positions available on our website. I encourage everyone to go check those out. I know that's a little bit of a shameless plug, but isn't that what we're kind of all here for? So
Absolutely. And if people can find a role that suits them and is well aligned with their company, all the better for everyone.
yeah, exactly.
I feel like, what aren't you hiring? I saw like director of finance, I think, is up there, and then a lot of roles for manufacturing. Can you maybe give us a brief overview of what positions you're looking for, since you are a growing company?
Yeah, so we're an early stage startup. So we're in kind of one of those typical spurts of growth that startups go through right now. We have a number of open roles spanning from kind of our architecture and projects team to financing to manufacturing to research and development, kind of our technology group. So within kind of our architecture and projects team, we're looking for kind of architectural technologists, intern architects, even a senior project manager. We have postings for our CFO. We have an open search for that. financial planner and analysis people, marketing people. So if there's any people looking to make that transition from kind of architecture into a more marketing role, we have some things that could be a great alignment for that as well. We're looking for a director of kind of product and design to help us kind of shape the products we're creating and how that comes to the market. And of course, we have a number of roles in technology, like any startups. Technology is at the core of what we do. We're looking for computational designers. We're looking for a BIM manager right now. And even our director of software and computation, we have a role open for that right now too.
What is the best way? Everything.
Everything.
How should people reach out? Is the website the best way to apply?
The
where can they
website
find
is the
out more
best way to
information?
apply. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of our streamlined process. Of course, we have people that are contacting us directly, but our response is always just go through the website. It's all kind of managed through an online portal, and it allows us to really evaluate people properly for their candidacy and kind of removes that kind of personal connection that bumps people always to the top of the listing. We really want to take a very even, unbiased approach to how we're evaluating our candidates, and having everyone come through the platform, I think, is a big help in terms of that.
And how will the work be set up? I believe it's a hybrid role available, and where are you based, or is it remote roles?
All of our roles are hybrid. Our offices are located in kind of the Vancouver metro area. We have two facilities, one for kind of our core team, and then one kind of where we're setting up our manufacturing production line right now. And we're really trying to find that right balance. Because we're such a flat organization here at Intelligent City, we don't have hierarchies, we don't have dedicated teams. There needs to be a lot of cross communication, and that can happen on things like Teams and Zoom, of course, but at the same time, a lot of us kind of coming from your typical architecture studio backgrounds, we feel that there's something to be said for that in-person element. So we're really striking kind of a right balance between the two.
Can you share some of the values about your company, so the candidates can help see if they're a good fit or that the company aligns to you? For example, at Monograph, we have like a people first, do the right thing kind of mentality, and you can kind of feel the culture that develops around that. So let me know about Intelligent City.
Yeah, so at Intelligent City, I mean, we have a list of kind of what our values are on the website, and everyone can go look at that. But I want to talk about it a little more candidly. I think that's a little more valuable. And I really, like, when I'm interviewing candidates right now for the roles I'm in charge of, I always like to stress that sustainability is really at the heart of what we're doing. And we're looking for candidates that our mission resonates with them. We want to have that personal connection to what we're doing up here in Vancouver. Sustainability is at the core of everything, from how we think about kind of the spaces and the buildings we're creating and the lifestyles that they enable for their occupants, but also our approach to materials. We're using mass timber construction throughout all of our product because we feel that's just a more sustainable, viable option, to even how we're approaching our manufacturing productions, kind of the task that my team is working on. We're really trying to make sure sustainability is kind of a constant thread throughout the company. It is really at the heart of what we do. To the point that the company even has an EV that we use to get around town, rather than everyone having to depend on their own gas guzzlers.
I love that. And definitely mass timber is the future. I think it's a developing field, right? A lot of companies are starting to go that way. What
Yeah,
other
there's
technologies?
a
Tell me
lot of
more.
interest from the industry in mass timber right now. And in Canada, with our timber industry, is
Mm.
putting a lot of support behind initiatives that are focusing on that. So we've been very grateful to get support from kind of both the provincial and the federal governments here in Canada to really support our growth as a company and really help us understand how do we leverage kind of the existing timber industry that exists in Canada, and also kind of the tech startup culture that's taking place here in Vancouver.
And how large is your company now? And how large do you plan to expand to?
Currently, we're approximately 20 people. I'll admit, I think we might have onboarded a couple in the past week that I haven't touched base
Yeah.
with yet, so I'm not sure on that exact number. And how big do we want to grow to? I mean, that's for a startup, let's just say we're very ambitious, like any good startup is, and that we're hoping to, easily grow to 30, 40 within the next year, and then keep doubling kind of after that pretty regularly. Um, you know, Currently, we're setting up one facility here and kind of the lower mainland of BC, but we have aspirations to kind of take the product that we're developing, expand it both into other provinces here in Canada and extend it into South America and eventually go global with it.
Very cool. Can you share a little about your onboarding process? I think it's a very important part of hiring someone that a lot of companies, might not pay as much attention to.
Yeah, so our onboarding process, it's actually quite a challenge for us because we have so much going on in different categories. And for us, our onboarding really focuses, beyond just a here's your computer, let's get you set up kind of thing, but just making sure people understands the current state of kind of all the verticals within the company. We're not organized into verticals, but we kind of loosely talk around them. And it's important to us that everyone in the entire company understands what's happening in the software side of things, in the manufacturing side of things, in addition to kind of the incoming projects, business development. So our onboarding is something we've actually learned. We spread out over about 1.5 to 2 weeks, depending on everyone's schedules. And we make sure that there's a lot of one-on-one time with the people that own certain territories. So for example, as the director of manufacturing technology, when we onboard new people, it's usually myself and members from my team who are sitting down with them for an hour or two at a time, just giving them a really brief overview of where we are with our process, what our next steps are, things like that. And merely we're kind of throwing people into the deep end when you kind of expose them to all of that, but we really want people to grasp quickly not only what we're doing but who we are as a company.
And do you have an ideal type of candidate or qualities of a candidate or experience from that you're looking for?
Well, it really experience levels varies across the roles. We have entry level positions in kind of some of our groups, and of course, things like director level or CFO is going to require a little bit more experience and time in the industry. As far as the architecture level positions, once again, we have a little bit of a range there. Some entry level, some a little more leading up into the manager roles, junior, senior. As a whole, we like candidates that are extremely curious. We want people who want to learn a little bit outside of their domain because that's what's necessary for Intelligent City to operate well. We can't have people that say, I'm sorry, I'm the BIM person. I'm not going to work outside of BIM. We really want people who are curious and just want to learn about what's going on at the company and become more engaged. We really encourage candidates to take the initiative and kind of participate with as much as possible. When talking about their roles and their experience, we want to hear everything about your interests and what you're into. Because if we're hiring for let's say a computational designer, but they have experience with woodworking, well, that's a win for us because then you understand the material and some of the processes we're dealing with on the shop floor, and that's only going to make your programming better.
Definitely. As we begin to wrap up, is there anything that you want to share about Intelligent City or that we must know about, and like how do we keep up to date on everything that's going on?
Well, thankfully, we have a really great business development team that's pretty active on all the social medias. So if you go and you follow any of our formal accounts, you'll get regular updates on what we're up to. For people that are interested more in kind of the tech side of things, our CTO Oliver David Krieg is pretty active on Twitter. I am not active on social media because I have a young family, which I'm sure George can relate to, which means I don't have any free time for social media anymore. But that's the best avenue to follow what's going on with us here at Intelligent City and kind of what's next on the plate for us as a company.
That's very exciting. What does your day-to-day look like, or like maybe what does a week kind of look like? I know I'm sure it's busy and changing constantly, but a
Yeah,
slice a snapshot now.
I'm trying to think. So right now, I'd say about 50% of my time is filled with interviews for all these open positions we have, because we take every candidate very seriously and want to spend some time to know them, and that just takes time. Because we encourage people to be involved with the different teams as much as possible. We do have a pretty good regular cadence of meetings that everyone is involved with. Every core team has a weekly meeting, and we always bring in people from other groups to hear what we're working on and contribute to the conversation. I don't want my manufacturing team operating in a bubble, independent of, software's concerns or our product team's concerns. So as a whole, everyone's involved with that. And then, we also encourage people on our teams to come out to the factory. That's where I spend the majority of my time setting up our production line. And, we always encourage people to come out, look at the equipment we're setting up, ask questions. Similarly, I love it when our business development team comes out to the factory, and all of a sudden they understand what we're doing a little bit better. So there's a little bit of back and forth to the lower mainland whenever possible. But, we try to find a good balance between that and, just having time to get work done, which is also important. And, I always encourage my direct reports to be very defensive of that time, because as a company, we're not going to be able to grow if you're swamped with meetings, every day.
That's such a battle. Yeah. If you like, where did you get the time to do work? I feel you on that. So thank you for your time here, and I hope to have you back on again the stage, because I feel like even in like a few months' time, especially like 6 months from now, like I can't imagine where Intelligent City will be.
Hopefully we'll be a radically different company in 6 months' times. And please follow along with us on social media. If anyone is interested in any of our open positions, please check out our website. And I encourage everyone that feels that they resonate with the company to apply for a role that kind of clicks with them.
Thank you so much. I'll speak and check out Aaron in the expo hall after this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Leah Alyssa Bayer, President at Architects FORA. Sorry, there's some construction in my background, so I'm gonna try to handle my mic. Welcome, Leah.
No worries. Hi, thank you, Sylvia. Nice to be back, and woohoo to day 3. Very exciting.
Very exciting. So your session yesterday, debunking the hiring myth, using transparency to attract and retain talent. The chat was going crazy. We were so excited with everything you were sharing because it was innovative, it was different. You're very intentional about how you wanted to pursue and hire. And I think you were just like, even not putting any of the typical requirements you had, I think is great. Can you tell us more about where Architects FORA is? I know you have a new position or a scholarship opening up. Give us a brief intro so whoever missed your session can catch up and let us know what's going on.
Sure. Just brief intro about the company. So Architects FORA is a totally remote practice. We have no physical office location. That's really wholly focused on tackling the housing crisis right now at multiple different scales. The majority of our work is affordable housing, but we are expanding that to look at, what can we do in missing middle housing. And the practice historically has been based in the Bay Area, California. But as new leaders, myself and my two partners that took over the firm last year are focused on expanding that a bit as well. So we'll be looking at really most of the Pacific Coast states and tackling housing. Our team is small and a mix of a team that I started a few years ago under EVA Studio, and then team members from the company that we purchased last year called OJK Architecture and Planning, and then new team members that we've brought on since then and rebranded as Architects FORA. So it's also sort of a mixed and interesting scaling story in the past few years as well. I don't know if you want me to. Oh, go ahead.
It does sound interesting. I do want to hear more, but let's also give some information for those that want to be a part of Architects FORA? I know, I think you filled the role that you were looking for, but if you expand, like you said yesterday, if you have more projects coming on, how can people keep in touch with what's going on, new positions, and follow along?
Yeah, definitely. So we did very quickly fill the role that we had open for our full-time new employee. But we are slowly growing, so you never know. And we do keep everyone's contact information and materials on file that does apply to us throughout the year. So you can visit our website and our careers page, and you'll see the current job openings that are available, information about that new scholarship, and I can talk a little bit more about that, which is an intern scholarship, as well as what we call our wild card, which is sort of we're always open to meeting great new people. So please reach out, submit your materials. Even if we're not hiring, I'm always open to scheduling a call and learning more about what people are interested in and their skills and what they're looking for, offering advice. We actually hired one of our first team members when we took over OJK because she reached out to us and just wanted to chat and hear more about what we're doing and get some career advice. And she was amazing. So as soon as we had an opening available, we brought her back in and hired her. So I encourage people to reach out if you're passionate about what we're doing and want to meet. Let's meet up. Happy to do so.
That sounds so great. I have someone in mind actually that I was like, you have to check Architects FORA out. Why don't you tell us more about the scholarship internship that you have available?
Sure. So last year, we contemplated whether or not we'd be able to take on an intern, but it was just too crazy with taking over a new firm. So we put it on our calendar to think about for this year. And a conversation came up recently about whether or not we were going to be able to or have the capacity to bring on an intern. It was really interesting discussion with my partners and one of our leaders in the firm about what does an internship even look like in a remote firm? Because usually, an intern in architecture practice is scanning materials or organizing a physical library or, a lot of physical grunt work that just doesn't exist when your firm is fully remote. And so we love the idea of conceiving of an internship that provides a lot more value to the team member that joins us. But also there's quite a bit of a logistical challenge with having to supply materials, ship materials, have them ship it back, and get somebody up and running for a very short period of time. So my partner, Kate, proposed an interesting option that might provide more value for the intern, as well as a better experience on our end with a new team member, that is having somebody attend an internship for the summer on a full-time basis, but then continue on with us in a part-time basis for the remainder of the year, and pairing that with a scholarship. Because what she found at a prior firm is that there are a lot of students after their first year that don't receive any more funding for schooling that really need it. And many of those students also are working a job, a part-time or even full-time job during the school year. And so what if we specifically targeted those individuals and looking at people who represent minority demographics in particular, and offer this hybrid of a scholarship internship that both supplies additional funding later on in their schooling, as well as providing an open position where they can continue to develop skills with our office in the long term, potentially renew the scholarship in the next year. And then we have an opportunity to really invest in somebody in a long-term manner and develop them into a well-rounded architect. And for me, as the sort of a lone wolf that's focused on the business end in practice, I really love the opportunity of bringing somebody in to help me with practice operations and business management. And so those first couple months will be onboarding and sort of introducing them into what a practice really does. But really having them involved and folding them into the business side of the practice for a couple months as they get used to understanding architectural phases and working on architectural projects. So it's going to look pretty different than your typical internship, but we're really excited and we're about to launch it. And so we have a sign up on our website right now, and we'll put out a notice as soon as we're ready to start receiving applications for that, which will be in the next week.
That sounds amazing. My old firm, they had a really great intern program, and you can see the quality of the employees because I feel like they had a great onboarding session. Like they learned about all the different parts of the company and got to like spend time in each of them. So being so deliberate and intentional with it just sounds like you're setting you and your company and the prospect up for success.
Yeah. Yeah. And the onboarding process is really, really important and it takes a long time. So by the time you onboard somebody for a summer internship, they're leaving, which is really a shame. So we're looking forward to developing that long-term relationship.
That sounds amazing. Can you share, yesterday in your session, you said that you had immediately 300 applicants, and how do you go through these highly qualified applicants? I love that you said like you didn't even know if everyone who currently worked there would have like met these standards that you were receiving. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So how does someone stand out in an application? What, how did, how did you pick someone from 300 people?
That's a great question. It was really hard. The process of elimination and narrowing down felt, I don't know, there were so many great applicants. So marking somebody as a no for an interview just felt wrong and hard to do because I love meeting people and getting to know their strengths and skills, but we had to. So I think the number one thing for us, the first layer of narrowing things down was looking for mission alignment. Because for us, and you can see this in our ad, we weren't looking to fill like, oh, we need a project manager that has 7 years experience and has worked on X, Y, and Z projects. We're kind of a startup company, right? We're growing this core foundation of a team. And so we're looking at investing in individuals and not necessarily filling a particular role for a project. So the mission alignment is critical for that. We're looking for somebody that really believes in what we do and has a deep, strong connection to that, and is likely to stay with us and add to that practice because of the passion. So the cover letter component of our requirements for submission is super important. That's where we can see in their own words why they're applying and why this connection matters to them and how an opportunity with us can support their dreams, but also how their skills and strengths can support what we're doing. So I think really, truly, the cover letter has been really important. And I know that that's controversial. There are a lot of people who are like, I don't care about cover letters, looking to see if you have the qualifications. But for me, that was really critical to finding that mission alignment and it helped us narrow down pretty quickly. Although if you remember the statistics, we still had like 60 or 70 something people that were in that yes column. So from there we are looking at, okay, what is their experience level? How polished and well developed is their portfolio? How much intentionality did they put into the overall presentation? It's surprising to me how many people will just send like random images and PDFs of like pictures of projects and not have the thought to put something together. And to me, as a firm owner, that means that you don't have enough time and respect for your own work to present it in a way that you're proud of. And so that's sort of an immediate disqualification there as well. So it's, what are you passionate about? How are you handling yourself and presenting your background and skills? And then, what alignment do you have in terms of the hard skills that we're looking for? Do you know how to use the tools that we use? Are you comfortable with a remote firm environment? Because for us, that's kind of a unique thing. And not everyone is. It's not for everyone. And trying to suss that out in the review and hiring process is really important too.
That's a really interesting way to go about it with the cover letter because I agree. Like sometimes it's a boilerplate thing, copy paste, change some words around. But then it shows the intentionality because then you can find an employee that will go that extra step and use every part of their application process as a design process. Ones we mentioned in our monograph chats where we like you can do whatever you want. You can like one of our employees, he recorded a session and then sent back notes afterwards, and George, who hired him, said like no one has ever done that before. So I think it's like letting yourself shine, right?
Yeah, break the mold, do something different. We can tell when it's a boilerplate cover letter. Like, I can tell that this is being sent to 50 other people. Don't do that. I mean, if you don't really care about where you're working and you really just need a job, I guess it's fine. But if you're looking for really meaningful work, and I think that that's what a lot of people are looking for right now, is something that is meaningful, providing value, that has longevity and stability. If that's something that you're looking for, then you need to put a little more effort into and intentionality into your applications. But I love the idea of a video. I have had somebody submit sort of a little personal video before in the past, and it stands out. So anything that you can do that's different, that shows that you know who you're talking to and you're really excited about continuing that conversation, we'll feel that. We can read that, and that's meaningful and important on this end.
I also want to encourage people, because as architects, we can be quite perfectionists. So how do you also not get stuck in the process, or like, I don't meet these qualifications? I know you don't do the qualifications, but maybe
Yeah.
generally speaking, how do you not get stopped at the qualifications, the expectations, and I think you mentioned even compensation wasn't an issue. Like, how can candidates really not get overwhelmed in applying and make sure that they shine through?
Yeah, that's a great point. And most people are going to have those requirements. They want you to have X number of years. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how many years you have in practice. I mean, if you haven't done anything at all and you're just entering into the industry, then that's a little bit more challenging if you're going out for a role that wants more experience. But in general, those numbers are pretty meaningless. People learn and develop at different rates. So somebody who's been practicing for 15 years might not have the skills that somebody's been practicing for 5. So I encourage you to apply anyway. If the firm is a place that you want to work for, if the job is the job that you want to do, and you think that you can provide value to that, definitely submit, and find a way to prove to the hiring team that you can provide value that is not typical of what they're looking for, but leverage those strengths that you really have and make those things. Because that's really what we're looking for, is what is that unique quality, what are those unique skill sets or point of views that this specific person can bring in that's different than everyone else. So if you can set yourself apart, like you said, do something unique, do something different, or just make sure that your particular skill set and whatever it is shining in your portfolio of work or your submission materials, that's going to catch somebody's eye. But don't let any of those like minimum qualifications hold you up. And in particular for women, because women specifically do not apply to jobs if they don't meet 100% of the qualifications. Just like ignore those, please, and submit anyway. Be bold. I'm going to take some cues from yesterday. Be bold in what you're doing. Be bold in your confidence in yourself and your application. And follow Joanne's advice of ignore being a perfectionist. Just make sure that you have a voice and a perspective and a point of view, and you're leaning in from that position.
Absolutely. And that was a really great wrap up. But as we close out this part, do you have any final words that you want to share with our attendees?
I just maybe not the attendees, but I don't think I've ever said this, but I'm pretty sure we're the most traditional company on this spotlight this morning. So that's amazing. Bravo for bringing in such a fantastic companies to highlight. I think it's great. Adam said everyone here is so innovative. So it's been a pleasure. To everyone who's attending, there are so many opportunities in the world right now. Everyone is hiring. So you are in the driver's seat. You have all of the leverage in the world. So really dive in and make sure that you take control and authority over designing your destiny and your career, and find that right fit for you, because it's a great place to be in for job seekers at this point in time. So good luck and reach out. I'm happy to give any advice and look over materials or just get to know one another. So please do reach out.
Thank you so much, Leah. This was a great conversation. I hope a lot of people get in touch with you. It sounds like a fabulous place to work.
Thank you.
And I'll see you in the expo hall after.
Yes. See you there. Bye, all.
Thank you. Next, we have Lynn Chalk, the Managing Director of Business Management at BRIC. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you for having me, Sylvia.
Thank you for being here. I wasn't able to attend your session yesterday. I was on the other stage, but it looked amazing. I will watch it afterwards, but through the Slack channel, they were sending us like screenshots of your amazing graphics. I noticed that you have a very innovative way of communicating in your office. Please tell me more about that.
Yeah, I really didn't speak to that in the session yesterday, but I think it came through. We have a very strong graphic and design communication platform, which actually kind of speaks to what the session was about yesterday, just communication in general. It really is something we value top to bottom. We care a lot about how we're putting ourselves out externally, but all those graphics from yesterday were almost all for internal work that we have done. So we take our work internally as serious as what we're doing, as architects, and really show that, especially within my role, my clients, of course, are our employees, first and foremost, before we go out into, kind of more of our traditional clients who give us revenue. But so we're just always actively trying to, do our best. It is kind of funny, the whole like leaning towards perfectionism. I think maybe it comes through with our firm also, that we lean that direction, and we do have to ask ourselves a lot. Are we, putting perfectionism in the way of progress a little bit? But we are so proud of what we put out there and how we're trying to show up, for our employees. And, just in addition to kind of that like graphic sense, also we're very open. I think I did allude to it yesterday, just about our operations and our finances. We do quarterly all hands meetings where we review our metrics. We look at our projects first and foremost, because design is at the heart of what we do. Then we kind of look how we're doing culturally and give a little update on all kind of our cultural things for the quarter. And then we go into our actual finances and our metrics and show everyone really where we're at. And we feel that's pretty unusual out there within architecture firms, being so open about where we're at and what it takes to really run a business. And that is something to be mindful of. It's, we're not just here as a hobby, right? Like we're trying to do something, and it's important. This is people's livelihoods. We want to make sure people feel safe and secure working for us. So we take all aspects of the business pretty seriously, but of course try to insert fun, as I hope like our graphical sense says. I mean, we really do also try to have everything be kind of clever, charming, fun, welcoming. That's like what we want our culture to be, what it is, and what we want it to have it continue to be. And I think I was also going to say to Leah's comment, I think we're the most traditional architecture firm of the people who are currently on this panel, because I feel like we feel pretty traditional listening to everyone else. So
It's a very unique group of people here.
yeah.
I mean, even like I think just even being at Section Cut in general is not exactly the most traditional type of firm either.
I think I would agree with that. That's been really such a positive part of participating, is really see the innovation, just not but via product type, right? It's like thinking about the business. It's so exciting and energizing.
Absolutely. I know you have a lot of positions open. Can you share some of those?
Well, I'll say, generally speaking, we're always open to quality people. So that's what it really comes down to. I would say at the moment, we're really focusing on project architects and job captains. So kind of more of that, I would say, strong mid-level person. COVID has been difficult with more junior staff for us. With that mid-level person, we have had difficulty, I think, for us fully supporting junior staff and even like an intern during COVID. We've realized the difficulty of it. We do really like to be next to people so we can easily read where they're at, and we can say, hey, how's that going? How can I help you? They can quickly ask a question. And it is difficult virtually. We leaned into it as much as we could. For us, though, we really do like at least a hybrid system of some in-office interpersonal connection, but like the ability to do everything, virtually also. And kind of leaning into that. That's the way we're all going to keep working, right? We're not going to be all together all the time, but especially on the design side, it is nice to connect really read people's energies, feel that creative boost as we're trying to create something really special. And then we are very much hiring for our Boston office. As I said yesterday, we have a new office in Boston. We want to fill those seats. We, of course, want to make sure it's very sustainable. So making sure the work is there, which we feel very happy. It appears we do have some projects already in the pipeline. And we've really only been there 6 months and got, our office really like a physical location is just as of this year. So lots of great energy happening there. That is a female-led office, which we're very excited about. Just feeling a lot of good synergy around that, especially with our markets, which are, I'm kind of saying, it feels more traditional, commercial, office, and life science. That is really where we're heavily weighted at the moment. We do like the idea of having a nice split between commercial, office, and life science, housing, multifamily housing, and higher education work. But the way our company has really succeeded and thrived is we have very deep relationships with our clients. So we are all about really that partnership, and we really see it that way. So, with during kind of pre-pandemic and during the pandemic, there was just a lot of synergies with the kind of where we were as a firm 10 years in, where our developers were, our clients were, with their experience also, that the projects all of a sudden got quite a bit bigger. They were able to quickly shift from office to life science. We were able to make that shift because of our talent, and we've leaned all in. So it's a little bit outsized in kind of that market, but we're actively trying to make sure we have a balanced portfolio to ride us out through, whatever the market situations are.
That sounds great. A lot of smart decisions there. For those that are interested in applying, can you share a little about how the office is set up, or team sizes, and the level of communication and transparency that you have between everybody?
Yes, absolutely. So we have everyone divided into studios, which really, though, is almost like a homeroom. We, kind of being flexible and understanding how things work. At first we thought, well, and we do have projects that sit within the studios, but nothing is market specific. It is very much about who has availability, which we like. So it means every studio has a different scale of projects. All studios have at least 1 or 2 very large scale core and shell projects going on. Then there's smaller repositioning projects, and we're ever trying to expand our interiors work because we really want to capture the interior side of our core and shell work, which is starting to happen, and we'd like to ever expand that. So we really like that there's multiple scales, because then people of different experience levels can hopefully maybe manage a small project if they're 5 to 8 years in. Also work on a large team and understand how that works. And for us, a large team, I would say, is about 4 people. A part that has been very advantageous for us is we have essentially brought on people from a partner company in Uruguay for our BIM work, our BIM modelers, which is a female-owned company. We are highly integrated with these people. They are our coworkers. We've signed a long-term contract to have them work with us. So it's not just a normal consultant relationship at all. They attend our meetings. They are deeply involved in our projects. They're just highly skilled, and they have really helped us achieve what we want with growth wise. We want to grow obviously in the United States as much as possible, but their partnership and their skill set, especially on that technical side, has just opened opportunities for us. And they've even, because they're so popular, had to expand beyond just female employees, but it's just great to be working with them and being so well aligned and feel such a good synergy.
That sounds great. And how do you communicate with them? I'm curious, actually. How does the whole office communicate together?
Yes, so this has been and really tested our communication, which our session was about. And we've really leaned into how important it is. They are all English speakers, even though Spanish is their native language. But it's honestly very easy to communicate with the team. We have multiple meetings per week. I work quite directly with the people over there at kind of the same level on the labor resourcing. How are we going to work together? We have a couple meetings a week. They meet with each of the project teams and make sure that's well aligned. It's just constant interaction. They're 5 hours ahead, which many times works to our advantage. We're really excited to see how it works with the Boston office, where they're only 2 hours ahead, right? There's even a better alignment as opposed to the West Coast. But they also then get some good heads down time, right? Of kind of hearing the feedback, being able to get into the model, make those updates, and then get the information back to us. Because, we do, as much as we're very much strongly believe in generalism and everybody touching every phase of a project. Project delivery highly informs front-end project design. And if you're not thinking about that, you're not actually going to deliver a quality project. So we really want people touching every part of a project. That's super important to us at every level of experience. So, they allow us to kind of focus on more of the design side and take, the responsibility a bit of the technical off of us, but we still need to know. We're Office of Revit users. We deliver all projects in Revit. You need to know Revit to work with us, to really, do well with us. But on the front end, the design tools that we start in and design in, we're pretty free flow. We want to lean in to what people like to work with, which for us, most of the time is Rhino. And now we've kind of had a resurgence of SketchUp lately, which is pretty interesting. But we do just lean in to what people like to work in. But very quickly, we are working in parallel in Revit. And this is where our help in Uruguay really comes in handy. So we're kind of creating two paths so we can really utilize design and give the information that our clients want to them. It's very important that we're giving return on investment to our clients. And so that we need to be able to give the metrics, which Revit allows us to produce really quickly to them.
I love it. And this is not your typical traditional firm at all. It sounds very like trying to get on the ball and making smart decisions about everything and utilizing your skills and time very well. You mentioned that everyone gets to touch everything on a project.
Yes.
What does growth look like through your firm? I imagine that you're really nurturing people's careers in this process.
Very much so. We're very much trying to target who are emerging leaders, give them a lot of support, thinking about how we can develop people into different roles. Like we really want to develop more women and, let's say non-binary people into technical roles. We feel that's, something that's lacking in the marketplace, and we would love to develop internally and see that happen. It's very hard for us to find out in the marketplace. So that's important to us. Just really, of course, we want people of different mindsets to be working here and because it allows a much more creative way to do the work. And that is something culturally beyond just how we interact as people and kind of our shared interests. How we want to approach the work is that it doesn't matter your position or your experience, that all ideas matter and they can really be a jumping off point. And I would say recently that has really come to fruition. I mean, not just on one project, but multiple projects, but a big project is we had someone who's pretty much straight out of Cal. She had a great idea about one of our large core and shell buildings, about how to get, more rentable square feet, but still include something that's very important right now to clients, roof decks and open air spaces. And her idea was just fantastic. And, of course, maybe she doesn't have the experience to then, make it come to fruition 100%, but it absolutely sparked the team, took the project in a different direction, and now has allowed us to present something and really take a creative idea somewhere real, where the client's fully bought on, we can bring in the technical side, really build it out. It's been very fun to see that happen.
It does sound amazing. I love it. Any final words as we are nearing time?
Yes, I just highly encourage anyone who's interested. Like I said, we're just always looking for quality people. It's really the most important thing besides, quality skill set is someone who's culturally aligned with us. We very much have an entrepreneurial mindset, especially for our Boston office. So that's what we're looking for, and that's what we enjoy. Someone who really wants to dig in, learn new things, be a part of a highly collaborative group. That's what we want and what we're looking for. So please hop on over to the expo hall, send in your information through the website. Definitely include a portfolio, very important. I like a cover sheet too, but your cover letter matters quite a bit. But honestly, I do try to approach, I am the main gatekeeper at some level. And I try to be as fair and equitable as possible, like kind of remove that idea of, remove judgment as much as possible and not have it all be, people who seem like me, right? Which is hard. You have to be questioning yourself a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's a good thing to keep in mind for those applying and hiring, that we're just all still people at the end.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sylvia. This has been great. I really enjoyed you, including me.
Thank you so much for joining. I had a great conversation, and I hope to have you back on the stage soon.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Anamika Goyal, Head of Design at Cottage. Welcome to the stage.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us. I think your session yesterday was really day one was really well received. People were really excited about what you were sharing, working smarter, not harder, and not being stuck in a place. I think Youngjun said it very well, where he was just a draftsman listening to the client's words and he wanted to do something about it. So tell us more about Cottage, what you're up to, and even the roles that you have available after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks so much for having us both on Tuesday and today. And Youngjun said to extend his thank you as well. It's been really exciting to share the stage, get to know the Monograph team better, and just meet a couple of other awesome firms out there. So as you mentioned, I'm the head of design at Cottage, trained as an architect. Our company was founded based off, honestly, personal pain points and helping our families through home renovation projects. And specifically, our founder was trying to help his parents through building an ADU in Palo Alto. And the reason they wanted to do it was to use the rental income from that ADU to kind of secure their retirement in a town that was becoming extremely expensive. As I'm sure many of you know, housing in California, the situation is not getting any more affordable, even for those of us who are lucky to have really great jobs. And so it really came out of a desire to help families do this easier and kind of make the contribution we could to the housing crisis. And so there's a couple ideas here that I think are really interesting. So one of them is to make it easy. And for us, like we've kind of gone back and forth on who we're making it easier for. And I think what we've learned by talking to not only clients, but also providers, kind of other architects and especially GCs, is that people get stuck for all sorts of reasons all along the way. And often what happens for homeowners is they get stuck kind of playing project manager between a bunch of different experts in a field that they don't know very well. Like, most homeowners are not architects. Most of them are not GCs. They're doing a home renovation project for the first time and inevitably get stuck along the way. And we do work with a lot of homeowners who have tried, weren't able to figure it out, and kind of come to us to help them get it across the finish line. The other thing that I think idea that's really important to me is this idea of gentle densification of suburbs. So it feels like an awesome coincidence at this point, but when I was finishing up my master's at Cornell, and the kind of last bit of that is a thesis semester, I actually did my thesis work on ADUs at that time in Seattle, because in Seattle they had been legalized and not yet in California. And really looking at how you can just totally change the demographics of the neighborhood if you introduce naturally affordable housing. and kind of how doing it in a ADU by ADU basis might be kind of like the gentle change or gentle densification that the existing neighborhood is more okay with, where like I know a lot of folks get very nervous about the idea of a high-rise or kind of multifamily building just suddenly appearing in a neighborhood that used to be single family. But ADUs are this really cool way to almost turn single family homes into duplexes if you think about it on a per property level. And I think that's a really, really important piece of the puzzle in a country that is like so vastly zoned single family housing.
There's so much that I would love to unpack there with you, but this is for the career fair spotlight. But I love all the smart decisions you're making, like the gentle densification. I've worked on a lot of large multifamily projects, and it's a lot, though, and it's a different quality of living to have like that kind of density. Um, so, and also being really smart about the relationships with the general contractor. We had a previous webinar guest who also took advantage of, or like kind of took that relationship into their hands so that they can control the relationship and help clients and homeowners along for a process that I guess similarly to how people don't know what architects do, but also like they the building process is also a little foreign to them. Like, how do you hire an architect? How do you build something? Where do you start? So I love that you're really creating your niche into this industry to do something about all of those issues. How do people get involved with Cottage?
Oh, that's a great question. So, I mean, if you are a GC listening to Monograph, there is a partnership page on our website. Please check it out. I think one of the things we do differently than, I'm going to make a broad generalization here, but differently than most architects is that GCs are our friends. GCs are not our enemies. And really, we all need to work together because we're all just trying to design and build, right? So the goal is the same. And I think it's all just about getting on the same team and figuring out where our shared incentives are. So we have a really kick-ass GC network. And if anyone listening is a GC, please don't hesitate to reach out. We also have a careers page on our website that has a lot of our open job postings. I'll maybe focus on the ones that are more related to design and delivery right now. So on my team, the design team, we are currently a full-time team of 4 folks who are trained as architects, but all kind of focusing on different aspects of the architecture and technology intersection. Within that, we have 4 roles open right now. So we're hiring for a BIM manager, we're hiring for a design technology manager, we're hiring for a technical architect, and then we're hiring for a homeowner experience architect. And kind of all across the board, you can see how those roles are highly focused on kind of building out the technology side of our company, or focused on providing really, really great systems and standards and an incredible homeowner experience. And then the other way to get involved is we kind of, I think this is one of the most exciting things about the company for me, is that we have a network of architectural designers who work with us as freelancers, kind of on the Cottage design platform. And these folks are from all around the country, and we recently extended to Canada as well. And personally, it's been really exciting for me to work with folks who live in places where I have never lived, right? So we have, folks in Denver, Nebraska, Ohio, Toronto, like these are cities I haven't lived in. And I think pre-COVID, never would have had the opportunity to work alongside folks in these cities. So it's been really exciting to me to provide this kind of remote first freelance network where, if you'll interview with us, if you seem like a good fit, you'd hop on and you'd actually be doing that direct client work, relationship building, design of the custom ADUs, and then the documentation work. So the nice thing is we are still working on this, and this is like a big crux of what we work on day to day. But our goal with that design role is to kind of like we talked about in our presentation on Tuesday, is to make that role focused on all of the things architects are great at. So creative problem solving, design, and relationship building, and take away all the stuff that really should be done by a computer, like managing permitting through the messy city process, or repetitive documentation, or repetitive delivery creation. So that's kind of how we are formulating the studio. So far, it's been hugely successful, and we Actually have a few designers who've messaged us and said like, hey, I've learned so much from working with you guys. I'm actually going to go start my own small firm now. And for me to like be able to do that and be a small piece in that has been really rewarding.
That's amazing. I love that. And I love that you're doing it in a gentle way. Like it's not like big and loud, but it's like very thoughtful and very systematic and very smart too. Like judging from your presentation on the first day, what's it like working on your team, and how much is it collaborative? How much is it independent?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think like we hire folks who can be leaders. So definitely have that lead from any seat mentality. If you work at Cottage, it's because you're owning a business outcome that we've decided is super important for the company. So, very rarely will you just be kind of helping or contributing or, on someone else's efforts. You will most likely have something that you own, and it's your job to kind of push that forward. And so while we love to kind of build that autonomy and ownership, I think just because of the nature of the industry, it's almost impossible to succeed without having teammates working with you and kind of super involved in the stuff you're pushing forward. So we have a growth, marketing, and sales team. We have a design team. We have an operations project management team, and we have a construction team. And as you can imagine, none of those teams can really survive without the others, right? And so it's a ton of collaboration, but at the same time, it's a lot of autonomy for you to kind of push key initiatives forward as you see fit. One of my philosophies there is we have a thorough, I think, and really effective interview process. And the reason for that is once you're here, we trust you completely, right? So that's definitely something I felt while I was at traditional firms is you were hired based on an interview process that I didn't think was super effective. And then it was kind of like you had to earn that trust. And there was a lot of kind of pay your dues mentality in terms of earning that trust. The approach I like to take here is we will start with trust. If you're here, it's because we want you here and we value your contribution.
I love that. I want the entire industry to look like that. Like, imagine the work that can be done if that's the way we're approaching things. How can applicants stand out in this process?
That's a really good question. I think the best way to stand out, at least to me, I can speak for myself, is to have a really clear reason, kind of why you're reaching out to Cottage. And I think that extends to almost having a personal mission statement about your career, right? So it's almost like I had the opportunity to vocalize mine on Tuesday, where I have devoted my career to finding smarter ways of working within the AEC industry. I think it is a really good exercise for everyone to be able to come up with kind of that one sentence for themselves. It's like, I do blank because of blank, right? And if you can kind of crystallize that, it's a really good way for you to figure out, for anyone listening, I think that's a really good way for you to figure out which firms are a good fit for you and how your work in those companies is going to tie back to your personal mission statement.
And then conversely, companies should also think about their one sentence. What do they do and why, to see if we can align with the people that are looking can align with them. And sometimes it's not clear, or sometimes you say something, but then you do something else. Not the case with Cottage, I know.
It's really true. I think I've definitely worked at firms where the mission statement is like, we create beauty, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think we've all been on firm websites who have that kind of mission statement. Maybe it's aspirational, but I don't think it's really meaningful, unfortunately. And I think, I would encourage all my peers and kind of firms out there to, like you said, kind of look at their own mission statements and see if it can be used to attract like-minded folks who can be really effective on your teams.
Absolutely. Any things that you want to point out specifically for Cottage, for people that are going to head over to the expo hall today, and how can we also keep up to date with everything going on?
Yeah, great question. We are all quite active on LinkedIn. So we all it's easy to find out who works here on LinkedIn and also on our website. Don't hesitate to message any of us if you want to learn more about the design team or any other teams. And then our Instagram page is also a great way to just see some of the active builds we have going on. I think one of the exciting things is you get a taste of what's going on at Cottage from kind of what we put out there. But once you talk to us or even join us, there's a ton more under the tip of the iceberg that we'd be excited to share.
Very cool. I am definitely going to LinkedIn request everyone that works at Cottage. It was great having you here. Thank you so much, Anamika. And I look forward to seeing the growth and progress with Cottage.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. See you at the Expo Hall. And then last but not least, we have Adam Gale, Principal at Level Architecture and Interiors, joining us to close out this round of our Career Fair Spotlight. Welcome, Adam. Thank you so much for staying by for this session, but we're very excited to have you here. During your session, I can't remember if it was the first day or second day, but I was very excited to hear about your template process, how much thought you were putting into your company, and just making sure that it was set up well for success. So please let us know a little more about Level and about yourself as well.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sylvia. And no, it was awesome to kind of just sit in the background and hear what everyone else had to say. Really, really awesome firms and a lot of cool stuff going on out there. So it's always wonderful to see that across the industry. But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Level Architecture and Interiors is it's kind of the architecture and interiors wing of a larger development company, and that's concept companies. And so within concept companies, we kind of do everything from development, look at real estate, construction, site construction, civil engineering, title work. And so we've got this whole kind of build to suit ecosystem. And, we play the role of architect in that. And what's really unique about how we're set up is that while we work within that ecosystem, we also do a whole lot of third-party work. And kind of recently, we just kind of hit that tipping point of where we actually have more third-party work than we do internal work right now. So it's been kind of an interesting change, as we've kind of grown into that role. And similarly, our development group will, from time to time work with other architecture groups if it's something that's outside of our kind of area of specialty, or just if another group is needed for some other reason. So it's really great to kind of be part of something larger, but then still, take some of the lessons learned from that ecosystem and apply it to what we're doing. So, to answer kind of the second half of that question about our templates and processes and everything that we talked about on day one, it took of getting a lot of that in place to kind of, figure out how to navigate these two worlds. And so how to work, within this ecosystem of a development group, and then to take the things that we're doing and learning in there and translate that to some of our third-party clients. And so what I'll often say is kind of a bit of an elevator pitch is that, within our development group, there's a little bit of a safety net. And so it tends to be our sandbox. And I don't mean that we're just like experimenting on completely crazy stuff that would never work, or, lighting money on fire or anything like that. But it's where, if we want to look at a new material, we get the opportunity and we can go talk to our development partners and say, this is why we want to look at this. We think there's, maybe going to be some savings to the project, or it's going to be more sustainable and be better for who would maybe potentially rent out this space. And so we get to have a whole lot of that trial kind of with partners that, from an internal group. And that's something that's really special about our relationship and how we're set up.
I know you have a lot of open roles. You're very excited to share them, and because there's just so many available. Can you let us know who you're looking for? What roles are you trying to fill?
Absolutely. So yes, we are growing, and we're growing kind of in every direction right now. We've got full service architecture and interiors team. And while we often work on projects together, sometimes we're just doing the shell of a building. Sometimes it's just the interior fit out of a building. And so we're actually looking for team members on both of those teams right now. It's very specifically kind of like a associate level graduate architect position, maybe 1 or 2 years under your belt would be kind of ideal position from the architecture side. Someone who's interested in kind of learning about project management, whether or not they want to go fully down that track. But, just kind of someone who can get in, have some fun and be a part of some production. From the interior side, we're looking for an interior designer. So somebody who's licensed, has a little bit of experience in the field, someone who wants to be a part of both kind of those interior fit outs, but also, part of larger projects in both the public and private realm. And then in addition to those two positions, we're also looking for really kind of like an office manager, office coordinator type position. As we grow, we have to be kept in line ourselves. And so we need some additional people to help us out with that. And then really just kind of pure project management. And that's our fourth position. And that's really both on the architecture and interior side. I think that skill as a project manager can really translate to just about any project. So, we're kind of looking for either side there, but someone who's really interested in working with a collaborative team, working with a development group, getting to work firsthand with owners, clients, things like that, and then kind of take it back to in-house and have some fun, both in the architecture and interiors world.
I can't imagine what your day-to-day looks like with everything that's going on. It sounds like you're covering so much and being very thoughtful about it as well. And I imagine that the applicants you're looking for will also be able to kind of be like a master of many things and juggle a lot of opportunities, but also keep everything, the important details in mind. Can you share a little bit about how that all runs at Level?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we are constantly working on just being as transparent as possible. And what that means for us is kind of how everyone fits into what we're doing in the office and what our big picture vision is, but also how that fits into, the development group that we're working with. And so I think I mentioned this in my presentation the other day, but what we're doing on a project may be this much, and then where that kind of fits into an owner's thing is this much, and then where that fits into the whole kind of development life of a project is an even smaller portion of that bigger picture. So we spend a lot of time educating all of our staff on how things kind of fit into that bigger picture and what little moves kind of translate to at a larger scale. So even if you are doing something that's very focused, if you're working on interior elevations for a locker room, say, that we might be working on, you have to know that there's another locker room in that same building that someone else is working on, and it needs to correspond with that, and that's part of a bigger picture of maybe a university facility that's looking at renovations down the road. So oftentimes even those tasks, which may be something that's very focused, kind of translates into, all right, well, let's learn a little bit about the project management process. Let's learn a little bit about not just producing kind of the renderings and the pretty pictures, but some of the technical information that goes behind that. So on just about every day, I would say in our office, I'll kind of look up from my desk, and across the room, there's 4 people huddled around a computer, and it's somebody who's taking the time to explain either why we're doing something, or why we want to push back a little bit on a contractor or an owner here or there, or why we want to say, that's absolutely right, we need to stop what we're doing and pivot and change. But it's constantly kind of fostering this idea of mentorship, this idea of passing down information so that the decisions we're making are really kind of intelligent, informed decisions that are coming from this wealth of experience that we all are fortunate enough to have within our office.
That sounds like an amazing culture of collaboration. Can you tell us a little more of what it's like to work at Level, just culture-wise, because that's not something you find in every office, actually.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting mix. Right now we are 12 people, I think 8 of which are in the office, although they have the full ability to be hybrid, either at home or anywhere else that they would like to work. And then the other 4 folks that we have are kind of a mix of both full-time employees and contract workers, but they kind of bounce around. We've got one person in Denver right now, one person in Philadelphia, one person who goes back and forth between South Florida and the mountains of Tennessee, and another team member who will spend some time in Mississippi from time to time. So we're really flexible in how we work, and it's we use tools like Monograph, like Slack, in BIM 360. We're pretty much full Revit based, and kind of using the tools that we have, we're able to work asynchronously, but we're also able to work really closely together. And so how we work on a day-to-day is that we want to come in, we want to work hard, we want to be able to kind of put our noses down and get work done, but we also don't want to take ourselves too seriously. And so, we've got a handful of TVs in the office. We've got a Nintendo Switch in here that, we tend to kind of fire up on Fridays. And, we want to have fun, and we want to be able to work hard so that we can enjoy kind of those fun moments, the moments where all right, I just need to take, 15 minutes to learn about some other project that I'm not even working on, but I kind of want to clear my head and, and learn something while I'm doing it. So we encourage a lot of those moments too. And it's kind of fun the way that we've got our office set up. It's kind of like a 3-stage type thing where we've got our break room, a lobby, and a couple of workrooms and restrooms right up front. And that's kind of our public realm. So we welcome people to come in, come be loud, come be boisterous in that area. The second layer is kind of our public-private mix. And we've got a conference room, an interiors library, and really, we call it the living room, but it's kind of a television and a couch. And we've got a VR setup hooked up there. That's where our switch is. And so that's where, we might invite clients to come back, have a meeting. Maybe we can get a little loud if we're all on the same page there. But it's kind of this mix of like, people can come back, but only if you're invited. And then the third tier is really our private realm. And that's where we work. And that's our studio space where, it's a big open room, but it's kind of semi-separated by these transparent walls that we get to put all of our knickknacks on. And it's nice because you get to hear other conversations that are going on, but it's also private enough that if you need to just kind of put your head down and do some work, you're able to do that. And so, we set up the office intentionally that way. So we've got these spaces where people know where to be loud, where to kind of get these groups together, but also really provide a comfortable space that's fun to come into, and set ourselves up to say, hey, if I don't want to come in today and I really need to be productive and do it from home, that's okay too.
That's great. That sounds like a great way to design an office. You can tell that architects took a lot of intention into how it's going to be used. How can people keep up to date with what's going on with Level? How can they find you and apply? And where can they reach out for more questions?
Absolutely. So honestly, I think we're probably most active on Instagram, on kind of all the social media platforms, but anything on LinkedIn, whether it's reaching out, directly to me, James Blythe, one of the other principals here. I mean, honestly, anyone on our staff is certainly welcome to do that on LinkedIn. We do have a Facebook page and a website, an email that goes to hello@leveldesign.co. And that'll make its way to us. It's a great place to send resumes if you're looking or just want to hear some more information. But really, those are the major platforms. And if anybody ever happens to be in the area, we welcome drop-ins. And be happy to field an email as well. Just anything, a phone call, drop a line. We're really happy to have those conversations.
And what kind of exciting projects do you have on the boards that maybe people can get excited about?
Yeah, so I'll give a couple. Right now, we're closing out one with the University of Florida. It's been an expansion to their lacrosse and soccer facility, so we got to work with those teams, and we've got a few more projects with the university that are pretty fun that are kicking on. Our development group is just starting work on a 500-acre piece of property in a city just north of Gainesville, and we're going to be doing several of the buildings that are there. So it's a lot of big kind of office, residential, mixed use laboratory buildings there. And then we've got a couple of small kind of really cool restaurant type buildings that we're going to be doing as well. And just really high design, kind of high finish. So it's a pretty good mix coming across the board. And it's coming on fast. So yeah, we're definitely looking for people and would love for everybody to reach out and say hello, ask more questions.
Very exciting. I asked a few of the previous speakers this. How can an applicant stand out to you?
Yeah, so the thing that always stands out to me is when someone says, here's, I've looked at what you offer. I've looked at what you can do for me, and here's how I think I can add to that. So, we want any sort of hire to be someone who's going to mesh into what we're doing. And I think, we mentioned it before, we really do prioritize learning and kind of passing along information. But we do appreciate when that's a two-way street. And so if we can do something to build someone's skill set, and they can take some skill set that maybe we don't have and take what we're already doing to an even higher level, that's something that really stands out to me. And so I'm always looking for that. I've heard what you've said. Here's how I've digested it, and here's how I think I plug into that. That's always a kind of a fun light bulb moment for me.
And then once they're hired, their career trajectory with Level,
Yeah.
how do you kind of help them along that way?
Absolutely. I mean, sky's the limit. We encourage everyone to kind of get licensed, to go after credentials, attend conferences. We're very much, in favor of career growth, and we want to help everyone grow in their career. We've got several mentorship programs that are internal to our office where we connect, different directors and employees, and sometimes even multiple kind of directors or principals, just to have, one-on-one or kind of one-on-two breakouts. We do project postmortems very regularly, project charrettes. So there's kind of a constant flow of information. There's a very structured level, and then on the production or the professional level, we want everyone to go through that as well, and we support all of our employees and kind of on that journey.
That sounds great. And honestly, I can tell, like, I was very impressed when you mentioned templates, because I've joined a firm before, and the first day they're like, here's your project. We have a meeting, client meeting at 2, like maybe you could start working on this. And I'm sure, like, if I didn't get it done in time, like nothing would have happened. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, how do I log into CAD? Like, how do I print from CAD? Like, what are our drawing standards? Like, and then even growing through that, it's like, where can I look for resources to align to what the company their brand, their quality. And I was kind of lost, and I like digging in and looking for that. So when you spoke that you spent 2 weeks, it was an ongoing process to figure it out, and you're still refining it to make it work. That shows a lot of care and intention that everyone's set up for success. So I keep coming back to it, but I see that you're doing that in many parts of your firm and all the experience of working with you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that it is something some of our, current kind of long tenured employees will tell you they did not have that experience, and it was kind of the where do I look for this sort of deal. So some people have not gotten that, but all of our recent hires, we have, our adventure guide for the woman who's working with us out of Denver. Her first week was kind of just like, get familiar with our standards, take a project that's kind of a very, low risk project and start tinkering around with it, test it against what we said we're doing, let us know if we're doing something differently. And so it is very much a back and forth, but we do have a really nice kind of template, a really nice project management guide, and a really nice just adventure guide on how to get started and, where to look for things that everybody can start from now. So it's really nice to have, at least kind of a final draft of all of that stuff in place. And it is, I mean, everything we want to be improving, working to do better, do things more efficiently. And so we're always looking to improve. And that's part of kind of the fun of bringing new folks on board, is that usually somebody carries, certainly at least an alternate perspective, if not, another way of doing something. And so, we really like to listen to hear how everyone's doing everything, just to make sure that we are really, truly kind of doing everything to the best of our abilities.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today, Adam. Is there any final words you'd like to share?
Oh man, well, it's been a real pleasure to be a part of all of this, and it's just so encouraging to see, all the professionals getting involved here. Everything that's going on in the tech industry. I think, something from Level's standpoint, because we're hitched to this development group, we're looking to be a part of that in more than just a traditional architecture firm. And I think it's evident that a lot of people here kind of have that same bigger picture goal in mind, that there's more than just traditional practice out there. So, I'd like to say to everybody that that's part of the bigger picture vision that we're looking at. But I think I'd also like to encourage everybody to continue down that path. We're in control of our own destinies, and our field is so diverse and kind of touches so many tangential fields who really look to architects, designers, creatives as these leaders in these types of situations. And so it's just so exciting to be a part of this and to be connected to everybody. And I encourage everyone to reach out, not just to us, but everyone who's spoken here today, everyone who you've hopefully had the pleasure of having your coffee breaks with and things like that. But just, take everything in and digest it, and it becomes kind of part of who you are and what we can do collectively as a profession and an industry.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. All right. And I'll see you in the expo hall later.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you so much. All right. I mean, I just want to repeat what Adam said. This is our careers, our futures to create and design. And as you heard from all of our speakers, that find those firms that you want to work for. And I encourage you to apply, even if they don't have open positions. It seems like firms want to get to know who is out there and find the right fit.